Please do not go to sleep, mister. Please. A 5-year-old boy pressed his only jacket against a dying man's chest on a frozen highway, barefoot in shoes with holes, shaking so hard his words came out broken. The man beneath him wore a Hells Angels president patch and had enough blood pooling in the dirt to stop breathing twice. The boy had nothing, no phone, no parents awake, no warmth left to give. Just a one-eyed, stuffed dog named Captain and a heart that refused to walk away. He did not know that within the hour, 108 motorcycles would split the Arizona darkness wide open, and every last one of them was coming because of him. If stories like this grip your heart and will not let go, subscribe to this channel and follow Ethan's story all the way to the end. Drop a comment telling me what city you are watching from. I want to see just how far this story travels. Now, let us begin. Jessie Cole had not eaten in 2 days. She told herself it was fine. She told herself Ethan needed the last pack of crackers more than she did. She told herself a lot of things in that broken-down station wagon parked behind a truck stop off Route 66. Most of them lies she needed to believe to keep breathing. Her hands shook when she pulled the blanket tighter, not from the cold, from the fever that had been building for 3 days, turning her lungs into something that rattled every time she inhaled. She coughed into her sleeve and tasted copper. "Mama?" Ethan's voice came from the back seat, small, careful, the voice of a child who had learned early that loud sounds brought bad things. "Go to sleep, baby." "I am not tired." "Try anyway." Ethan pressed his face against the window. His breath fogged the glass in small circles that appeared and disappeared like tiny ghosts. He held Captain against his chest, a stuffed dog missing one eye, fur worn thin from 3 years of being the only thing in Ethan's world that never yelled, never hit, never disappeared. Jessie closed her eyes. She thought about calling someone, but the phone had been dead for 2 weeks. She thought about walking to the truck stop, but her legs felt like they belonged to someone else. She thought about Dale, and her stomach clenched so hard she almost threw up. Dale Pruitt was Ethan's father. That was the simple version. The complicated version involved a broken wrist in March, 2 cracked ribs in June, and a night in August when Dale held her against the kitchen wall by her throat and told her that if she ever tried to leave, he would take Ethan and she would never see her boy again. She left anyway. 3 in the morning, Ethan asleep in the back seat, Captain on his lap. Everything they owned in 2 garbage bags in the trunk. That was 11 months ago. 11 months of shelters and motel rooms paid for by strangers, and parking lots where security guards knocked on the window at sunrise and told them to move along. 11 months of Jessie looking over her shoulder, waiting for the moment Dale's face appeared in a crowd, in a doorway, in the rearview mirror. He had found them twice already. The first time in Albuquerque, Jessie came back to the motel and saw Dale's truck in the parking lot. She grabbed Ethan, left everything, drove until the gas light came on. The second time in Reno, a shelter worker mentioned that a man had called asking about a blonde woman with a little boy. Jessie packed up and ran before the sun came up. Both times, she knew how Dale found her. His brother Travis was a sheriff's deputy in Flagstaff. Travis had access to databases, dispatch systems, the kind of tools that turned running into a game Jessie could never win. Now the car was dead, the phone was dead, and Jessie was starting to think she might be dying too, slowly, from the inside out, her lungs filling up with something that made every breath feel like swallowing glass. "Mama," Ethan said again. "What, baby?" "There is a light." Jessie did not open her eyes. "That is just the trucks, Ethan." "No, it is different. It is moving wrong." Something in his voice made Jessie's chest tighten. Not the words, the certainty. Ethan was 5, but he noticed things other kids did not. He noticed when adults clenched their fists. He noticed when voices dropped low before they got loud. He noticed when things moved wrong, because in his short life, things that moved wrong usually meant someone was about to get hurt. Jessie forced her eyes open. Through the foggy windshield, she could see the highway, a dark ribbon cutting through the Arizona desert, and there, maybe a quarter-mile down, a single headlight weaving across both lanes. Then the sound hit, metal screaming, a crack so loud it punched through the closed windows. The headlight spun, once, twice, and vanished below the road. Then nothing. Jessie stared. Her brain processed it slow, the way sick brains do. Motorcycle. Crash. Someone just went off the road. Mama, did that person fall? I think so. Should we help? Jessie looked at her son. 5 years old, holes in his shoes, ribs she could count through his shirt. And his first instinct, his very first thought, was whether they should help. Baby, Mama cannot walk that far right now. I am going to try to get to the truck stop and tell someone. I can go look. No. Jessie's voice came out sharper than she meant. Ethan, you stay in this car. Do you hear me? Do not open that door. But what if they are hurt? Someone else will stop. Someone always stops. But even as she said it, they both watched the highway. No headlights appeared. No cars slowed. The road stayed empty and dark and cold. The way roads always stayed when you needed them to be something else. Jessie coughed again, harder this time. Her vision went gray at the edges. She leaned her head back against the seat. Just stay here, she whispered. Promise me. I promise, Ethan said. Jessie's eyes closed. Her breathing evened out. The fever pulled her down into something that was not quite sleep and not quite unconsciousness, but some dark place in between where the body goes when it has spent everything it has. Ethan sat in the back seat. He counted to 100. Then he counted again. He watched the highway. Nothing came. No one stopped. No sirens. No lights. He looked at his mother, looked at Captain, looked at the door handle. I promised, he whispered to Captain, then quieter. But what if he dies? Captain stared back with his one good eye, missing the other one since a thrift store box in Reno, but still brave, still watching. Ethan opened the door. The cold grabbed him like hands. It wrapped around his arms and pushed through his shirt and bit at his ears. He zipped up the jacket, 3 sizes too big, sleeves hanging past his fingers, a donation somebody left at a Salvation Army bin because it was not worth keeping. For Ethan, it was the warmest thing he had. He started walking. The truck stop was behind him. The crash was ahead. The distance felt enormous to a boy whose legs were short and whose shoes let the cold in through the toes. He walked along the gravel shoulder, Captain tucked under one arm, watching his breath come out in white puffs that the wind tore apart. He found the skid marks first, long black streaks that cut across the lane and ended at the guardrail where the metal bent outward like something had punched it. Beyond the rail, the embankment dropped away into darkness. Ethan stopped. His heart was beating so fast he could feel it in his fingers. Hello? He called. His voice sounded tiny against the wind. Is someone down there? Nothing. He almost turned around, almost walked back to the car, climbed in, closed the door, and pretended he had never seen anything. That was what smart people did. That was what safe people did. His mother would be angry. His mother would cry. His mother... A sound came up from the darkness. Low. Broken. The kind of sound that meant someone was trying to ask for help, but could not find the word anymore. Ethan grabbed the guardrail. The metal burned cold against his palms. He looked over the edge. The slope was steep. Rocks and dead brush and snow that had turned to ice in patches. At the bottom, maybe 20 feet down, something big and black lay crumpled in the ditch. A motorcycle, chrome bent and dull. One wheel still turning slowly, ticking like a broken clock. And next to it, a man. Ethan did not know what a Hells Angels president looked like. He did not know what the patches meant, or why grown-ups on television talked about men in leather vests with fear in their voices. He just saw a person on the ground, bleeding, not moving right, making sounds that reminded him of his mother on the nights after Dale left for work. He went over the rail. His feet slipped immediately. He sat down hard, slid on his back, grabbed at branches that snapped. His elbow hit a rock and pain shot up his arm. He bit his lip to keep from crying out. Captain tumbled loose and rolled ahead of him. Ethan scrambled after the stuffed dog, caught him by one leg, and came to a stop 3 feet from the wreck. Up close, the man was enormous. Shoulders wider than anything Ethan had seen outside a television screen. Leather vest torn at the shoulder, blood on his face, in his beard, running from somewhere above his ear and pooling in the frozen dirt. One leg disappeared under the motorcycle at an angle that made Ethan's stomach twist. The man's eyes were closed. His breathing sounded wet, wrong, like something inside him had come loose and was getting in the way. Ethan crouched beside his head. "Mister," he whispered. "Mister, can you hear me?" The eyes opened, gray-blue, bloodshot. They moved slow, like they were underwater, and found Ethan's face. For a moment, neither of them said anything. A 5-year-old boy with brown hair falling in his eyes and a stuffed, one-eyed dog staring at a man whose vest said he was the most dangerous person on this stretch of highway. "Kid," the voice came out cracked, barely a voice at all. "What the hell?" "You crashed," Ethan said. "You are bleeding a lot." "I know." The man, Jack Mercer, though Ethan did not know that yet, tried to move. A sound ripped out of his chest that made Ethan flinch back. His leg was pinned. The bike had him. "Do not move," Ethan said quickly. The words came out automatic. He had heard his mother say them, to herself mostly, after Dale left. "Do not move. Just breathe. It will stop hurting if you stay still. Kid, you need to get out of here. Go. Call someone." "There is nobody. My mama is sick. Her phone does not work." Mercer's jaw clenched, his eyes squeezed shut. When they opened again, something had shifted in them. Fear. Not of the injury, of the fact that the only human being within reach was a child who could not save him. "How old are you?" Mercer asked. 5. Mercer let out a breath that was almost a laugh. Almost. 5 years old, standing in a ditch, in the middle of the night. "I heard you fall," Ethan said. Like that explained everything. "Where are your shoes?" Ethan looked down at his feet. The sneakers were soaked through. One sole was coming loose. "These are my shoes." Something moved across Mercer's face. Pain, yes, but something else. Something that looked like anger turned inward. "Okay," Mercer said. "Okay, kid, listen." He jerked his chin toward his chest. Small movement. Every inch of it cost him. Inside pocket, left side, my phone. Ethan reached into the vest. The leather was warm where it pressed against the man's body, and cold everywhere else. His fingers were small enough to slip into the pocket without pulling. He found the phone, big, heavy, screen cracked but alive. "Hold it, up to my face." Ethan held it up. The screen unlocked. A list of names appeared. Ethan could read some of them. He was good at letters, his mother had taught him, but these names did not make sense. Tank, Preacher, Chains, Brick. "Call Brick," Mercer said. Ethan pressed the name. Put the phone on speaker because it was too heavy to hold to his ear. 2 rings, a voice answered. Deep, hard, the kind of voice that filled a room just by existing. "Ironside, you done already?" Mercer tried to speak, coughed. Blood came up. Ethan watched it and felt something cold move through his chest, but he did not run. "Hello?" Ethan said into the phone. "Your friend is hurt. He fell off his motorcycle. A bike is on his leg, and there is blood coming out of his head." Silence. 1 beat. 2. "Who the hell is this?" "Ethan, I am 5. We are on Route 66 by the truck stop. He said to call you." The silence that followed was the kind that holds its breath. Ethan could hear sounds in the background. Voices, music, the clink of glasses. Then all of it stopped, like someone had hit a switch. "Ethan." The voice was different now. Still hard, but the bottom had dropped out of it. Something raw underneath. Is he awake? Is he talking? Yes, sir, but he keeps closing his eyes. Do not let him close his eyes, you hear me? Whatever you have to do, keep him talking. Talk to him. Ask him questions. Do not let him go quiet. Okay. We are coming. Tell him Brick is coming. You stay right where you are. The line went dead. Ethan set the phone on the man's chest. Mercer's eyes were already drifting, lids dropping, jaw going slack. And instead of hiding, instead of running, this boy had climbed down a frozen embankment in the dark to sit with a stranger who was dying. Yeah, kid, Mercer whispered. I am scared. That is okay, Ethan said. Mama says being scared means you are still paying attention. Mercer's hand moved, slow, heavy, like lifting concrete. It found Ethan's small fingers and rested on top of them. Not squeezing, just there. Contact, proof that someone was with him. You are cold, Mercer said. I am okay. You are shaking. Ethan was shaking. His whole body vibrated with it, teeth chattering so hard he could feel it in his jaw. But he did not acknowledge it. Instead, he did something that would be talked about in clubhouses across the country for years. He unzipped his jacket. The too big, second-hand, only warm thing he owned jacket. He pulled it off his thin shoulders, and he laid it across Mercer's chest. The cold hit Ethan like a slap. His t-shirt, thin, faded, too small, offered nothing. His body seized, muscles locking, breath catching, but his hands pressed the jacket down against Mercer's chest, holding the warmth in. Kid, Mercer's voice broke. Put that back on. You will freeze to death. You are colder than me, Ethan said. That is not true. Captain says it is. Mercer stared at the boy, at the small hands pressing a jacket against his chest, at the dog with one eye sitting in the frozen dirt like a soldier standing guard, at this child who had nothing and was giving away the last of it to a stranger. Why? Mercer asked. The word came out raw. Kid, why did you come down here? Ethan looked at him with eyes that were too old for 5, eyes that had seen things no child should catalog. Because nobody came for you, Ethan said simply, and I know what that feels like. The words sat between them in the cold. Then Mercer heard it, and Ethan heard it. A sound that started far away, beyond the dark horizon, beyond the reach of headlights or hope. A low, rolling thunder. Not weather, something deeper, something alive. It grew, it multiplied, it shook the frozen dirt under Ethan's knees. The boy looked up at the highway. His eyes went wide. Headlights, not 1, not 10. An unbroken river of white fire pouring over the hill. Engine after engine after engine. The sound building until it swallowed the wind, the silence, the cold, everything. 108 motorcycles descended on Route 66, and the ground beneath a 5-year-old boy and a dying man trembled like the whole world was waking up. Mercer's cracked lips moved. "That is Brick," he whispered. "That is my boys." Ethan looked down at him, then back at the wall of light and thunder rolling toward them. His small hand tightened around Mercer's fingers. "I told you," Ethan said quietly. "Somebody always comes." But even as the first engines cut and the first boots hit the gravel above them, Ethan did not know that the phone in Mercer's pocket had already lit up with a message he could not read. A message from a number that was not in the contacts. 4 words glowing in the dark. "We know he is alive." The first man over the guardrail was Brick, 6'4", shaved head, hands that had broken jaws and rebuilt engines in equal measure. He hit the slope hard, boots digging into frozen dirt, and slid to the bottom in 3 seconds flat. His eyes found Mercer first, pinned, bleeding, barely conscious. Then they found the boy, a 5-year-old in a t-shirt, shaking so hard his bones looked like they might come apart. One hand pressed against a too big jacket draped over Mercer's chest, the other hand holding Mercer's fingers. A one-eyed stuffed dog sitting in the dirt beside them like it had been standing watch all night. Brick stopped moving. In 31 years of riding, he had seen things that most people only read about in court transcripts. He had pulled brothers out of wrecks, carried them out of bar fights, sat with them in hospital beds while machines did the breathing. He had never, not once, seen anything like a 5-year-old child giving up his coat for a dying man in a ditch. "Brick," Mercer's voice was barely there. "Took you long enough." Brick dropped to his knees. "Shut up. Save your air." He looked at the boy. "You Ethan?" Ethan nodded. His lips were blue. "You did real good, kid. Real good." Brick pulled off his own cut, the leather vest that meant more to him than anything he owned, and wrapped it around Ethan's shoulders. The boy disappeared inside it. "Dutch!" Brick yelled up the slope. "Get down here, now!" Dutch came next, former Army medic, patch on his vest that said the same. He hit the ground, already unzipping a field kit, fingers moving with the kind of speed that only comes from practice on bodies that could not wait. "Talk to me," Dutch said, hands on Mercer's neck, checking pulse. "Leg is pinned, bleeding from his head. He has been coughing blood," Ethan said. Dutch looked at the boy, then at Brick. The same thought crossed both their faces. This kid had been paying attention. This kid had been running triage on instinct alone. "Pulse is weak, breathing is compromised," Dutch said. "We need this bike off his leg and we need a bus. Now." Brick was already on his feet. "Tank! Preacher! Get down here!" He looked up the embankment. Shadows moved behind the wall of headlights. Boots on gravel. The sound of men who had been sleeping or drinking or playing cards 15 minutes ago and were now operating on pure adrenaline and the 3 words Brick had shouted into the clubhouse before he ran for his bike. "Ironside is down." Tank came down the slope like a landslide. 260 pounds of muscle that had spent 10 years working oil rigs before he patched in. Behind him, Preacher, lean, quiet, the club's chaplain, a man who prayed before every ride and meant it. "On 3, Brick said, positioning himself at the Harley's frame. Tank grabbed the handlebars. Preacher braced the rear. 1, 2, 3. They lifted. The bike groaned against the frozen ground. Metal scraped. Mercer screamed, a sound that cut through the night and made Ethan press both hands over his ears. Captain fell into the dirt. "Pull him!" Brick shouted. Dutch grabbed Mercer under both arms and dragged. Mercer's leg came free, twisted, swollen, the jeans torn and dark with blood. The bike crashed back down with a sound like a coffin lid slamming. Okay, I got you," Dutch said, already packing the wound, stabilizing the leg with a splint from the kit. "Stay with me, Ironside. Stay right here." Mercer's eyes rolled. His hand reached out blindly and found nothing. "Where is the kid?" Ethan stepped forward, picked up Captain, walked to Mercer's side and put his small hand back where it had been, on top of the big man's fingers. "I am here," Ethan said. "I did not leave." Mercer's grip tightened, weak but deliberate, like a man holding a rope over a cliff. "Brick," Mercer rasped. "His mother, in a car, truck stop." Brick pointed at two men on the shoulder. "Go, find her. Bring her here. Careful." They went without a word. Sirens cut through the engine noise. An ambulance appeared on the highway, lights spinning. EMTs came down the slope with a stretcher and a backboard. They worked fast. Collar, straps, IV started right there in the ditch. Professional, efficient. The kind of people who did not ask questions about patches or vests until the body was stable. As they lifted Mercer onto the stretcher, his hand would not let go of Ethan's. The EMT looked at Brick. "He is holding the kid pretty tight." "Then bring the kid," Brick said. They carried Mercer up the embankment. Ethan walked beside the stretcher, one hand gripping the rail, the other still connected to the man. At the top, 108 motorcycles lined the shoulder. 108 men stood in the cold, watching their president come up from a ditch on a stretcher with a 5-year-old boy in a too big vest, walking beside him like a bodyguard who weighed 50 pounds. Nobody spoke. Nobody needed to. The stretcher slid into the ambulance. This time Mercer let go. His eyes found Ethan's face. "You stay with Brick," Mercer said. "He will take care of you." "Are you going to be okay?" Mercer almost smiled. "Kid, you did not let me die. So yeah, I am going to be okay." The doors closed. The ambulance screamed into the darkness. Ethan stood on the shoulder of Route 66, wearing a Hells Angels vice president's leather cut that hung past his knees, holding a one-eyed stuffed dog, shaking in the cold, while 108 men stared at him like they had just witnessed something they could not explain. Brick crouched down in front of him. "Ethan, where is your mama's car?" "Behind the truck stop, the blue one that does not start." "Okay, my guys are going to get her. You are riding with me to the hospital." "Is Jack going to die?" Brick studied the boy's face. No tears, no panic. Just a direct question from a child who had already figured out that adults lied about the important things and had decided not to waste time with it. "Not if we get there fast," Brick said. "You ready?" Ethan had never been on a motorcycle. The engine vibrated through his whole body when Brick started it. The seat was too wide. His legs stuck out at angles. Brick reached back, took Ethan's arms, and wrapped them around his waist. "Hold tight. Do not let go." "I will not." They pulled out, 108 bikes behind them. The convoy moved through the Arizona night. Like a river with a current, nothing could stop. Ethan pressed his face against Brick's back and closed his eyes, feeling the wind try to tear him loose and Brick's body blocking it, solid and unyielding, like a wall between the boy and everything that had ever tried to hurt him. They reached the hospital in Flagstaff in 14 minutes. The emergency room was not ready for what walked through its doors. The first nurse looked up and saw Brick, then Tank, then Preacher, then 40 more men in leather vests filling the hallway like a tide. She reached for the security phone. "Ma'am," Brick said, both hands up, "we are here for the man the ambulance just brought in. Motorcycle accident on Route 66. That is all." "You cannot all be in here." "I know. Most of us will wait outside. I just need to know where they took him." The nurse hesitated. Her eyes dropped to Ethan, standing beside Brick in a vest that dragged on the floor, holding a stuffed dog. The fear on her face softened into something else. Confusion, maybe. Concern. "Trauma Bay," she said. "He is in surgery prep. Are you family?" Brick looked down at Ethan, looked back at the nurse. "Yeah," he said. "We are family." She let them through. The waiting room filled up fast. Brick kept order, 5 men inside, the rest in the hallway, the parking lot, leaning against bikes, smoking, pacing. Nobody raised a voice. Nobody caused trouble. They just waited the way men wait when the only thing holding them together is the hope that it will not be the worst news. Ethan sat in a plastic chair, feet dangling off the floor, Captain on his lap. Brick's cut still wrapped around him. A nurse brought hot chocolate. He held it with both hands and drank slow, the warmth spreading through his chest like the first good thing he had felt in days. "Brick," Ethan said. "Yeah, that message on Jack's phone." Brick went still. "What message?" "After you hung up, the phone made a noise. I saw words on the screen." Brick crouched down. His voice dropped. "What words, Ethan? What did it say?" "We know he is alive." Brick's face changed. Not the way faces change when they hear bad news. Slow, sinking. This was instant. A switch thrown. Something behind his eyes going from warm to ice cold in half a heartbeat. "Ethan, did you touch the message? Did you open it?" "No, sir. I just saw it." Brick pulled out his own phone, dialed. "Deacon, I need you at the hospital. Now, bring your laptop." He hung up and looked at Ethan with an expression that was trying to be calm, but failing at the edges. "You did right telling me that, kid. That is important." "Is someone trying to hurt Jack?" Brick did not answer. He did not have to. Ethan had grown up in a house where silence was the loudest answer there was. 20 minutes later, a man walked in. Lean, quiet, military posture, hair cut short, eyes that moved around the room like he was cataloging exits. His cut said Deacon, and beneath that a small patch, Intelligence. Brick pulled him aside. They spoke low. Ethan watched their faces, Brick's jaw clenching, Deacon's eyebrows pulling together. At one point, Deacon looked at Ethan across the room, then back at Brick. He nodded once and left. Brick came back, sat beside Ethan, said nothing for a long time. "Brick?" "Yeah, kid." "Jack's crash was not an accident, was it?" Brick turned his head slow, looked at the boy, 5 years old, sitting in a hospital waiting room in a biker vest, holding a stuffed dog, asking a question that most grown men would not have the guts to speak out loud. "What makes you think that?" "Because when I was down there with him, I could smell something, like the stuff Mama puts in the car, but it was not coming from the engine. It was coming from the front wheel." Brick stared at him. "You could smell brake fluid." "I think so. And the way he crashed did not look right. He was going straight. The road was straight, but the bike turned like something broke." Brick leaned back, rubbed both hands over his face, let out a breath that sounded like it had been trapped in his chest for an hour. "You are something else, Ethan Cole." "Is that bad?" "No, that is the opposite of bad." The surgery took 4 hours. Ethan fell asleep in the chair at some point, Captain tucked under his chin, Brick's cut pulled up to his ears. Brick sat beside him, not moving, not sleeping, just watching the doors and the hallway and the boy, thinking about brake lines and text messages and the kind of people who tried to kill a man on a dark highway and then sent a message to make sure it worked. At 2 in the morning, the surgeon came out, a woman, mid-40s, scrub cap still on, hands that had just spent 4 hours rebuilding a man's leg and stopping the bleeding inside his skull. "He is alive," she said. "The leg was badly damaged, but we saved it. There is a head injury, moderate. He is in a medically induced coma. Next 48 hours will tell us more." "Can we see him?" Brick asked. "One at a time, family only." Brick looked at Ethan, asleep in the chair, looked back at the surgeon. "That kid saved his life tonight, gave up his only jacket to keep him warm, sat with him for almost an hour in freezing temperatures. He goes in first." The surgeon studied Brick's face, then the boy's. Something in her expression shifted. "Okay, but keep it short." Brick woke Ethan gently. "Hey, Jack is out of surgery. You want to see him?" Ethan's eyes opened, instantly alert. The way children wake up when they have learned that the gap between sleep and danger is measured in seconds. "Is he okay?" "He is alive. Come on." The hospital room was quiet. Machines hummed. A monitor traced a slow, steady heartbeat. Mercer lay in the bed, face pale against white sheets, tubes running into his arms, his leg wrapped thick and elevated. He looked smaller, the way powerful men always look when the power gets stripped away and all that is left is the body. Ethan climbed into the chair beside the bed. He put Captain on the mattress next to Mercer's hand. "Hi, Jack," he whispered. "You made it. The doctor said you are going to be okay. I brought Captain so you are not lonely." The machines beeped. Mercer did not move. But Ethan sat there anyway, talking softly, telling Jack about the hot chocolate the nurse brought, about how Brick's vest was so big it was like wearing a blanket, about how Captain was going to stay right here and keep watch. Brick stood in the doorway, watching. His phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out. A text from Deacon. Brake line was cut. Clean. Professional. Someone on the inside. Brick's hand tightened around the phone until his knuckles went white. He looked at the boy sitting beside the bed, at the one-eyed dog standing guard on the mattress, at the president of the Arizona Hells Angels breathing through machines because someone had decided he should not be breathing at all. Then his phone buzzed again. Different number. The same one from the message Ethan had seen. The boy saw something he should not have. Handle it, or we will. Brick's blood went cold. He looked at Ethan, 5 years old, talking to an unconscious man about a stuffed dog, feet not even reaching the floor. And someone out there wanted to hurt him. Someone out there saw a child as a loose end. Brick typed 3 words. Hit send. Try it. See what happens. Then he walked into the room, sat beside Ethan, and put a hand on the boy's shoulder. "Ethan, yeah? From right now you stay with me. You, your mama, you stay close to me and you stay close to the club. You understand?" Ethan looked up at him, those eyes again, old and young at the same time. A boy who had spent his whole life reading danger in the faces of adults and had gotten very, very good at it. "Is someone coming for us?" "Nobody is coming for you, because I will not let them." Ethan held his gaze for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Okay. Okay." Down the hall, the sound of boots on tile, voices, a commotion at the nurse's station. Then a woman's voice, thin and cracking. "Where is my son? Someone told me my son is here. Ethan! Ethan!" Jessie Cole came around the corner like a ghost, pale, shaking, fever bright in her eyes. 2 bikers walked behind her, the ones Brick had sent to find her, looking helpless in a way that 200-pound men in leather rarely look. They had found her collapsed beside the car, barely conscious, and carried her to a truck. She had woken up on the drive and fought them until they explained. "Mama!" Ethan slid off the chair and ran. Jessie dropped to her knees and caught him, held him so tight her arms shook. "What were you thinking?" she whispered. "I told you to stay in the car. I told you." "He was dying, Mama. Nobody else was coming." Jessie pulled back, looked at her son's face, the blue lips, the red cheeks, the calm, steady eyes that should not belong to a 5-year-old. Then she saw the vest he was wearing, the patches, the words. Her face changed. "Why is my son wearing this?" She looked at Brick, fear replacing relief. The automatic fear of a woman who had spent years surviving men who looked dangerous. "Who are you? What is happening?" "Ma'am, my name is Brick. I am Vice President of the Hells Angels Arizona chapter. Your son found our president on the side of Route 66 tonight. He climbed down a 20-foot embankment alone, kept Jack talking for almost an hour, gave him his own jacket, and called us on Jack's phone. He saved a man's life. He is the bravest person in this hospital." Jessie stared at him, then at Ethan, then at the room behind them where machines beeped around a man she had never met. "I do not understand," she said. "You do not have to understand tonight," Brick said. "Tonight, all you need to know is that your boy did something extraordinary, and we are going to make sure both of you are safe." "Safe from what?" Brick hesitated, Just a fraction, but Jessie caught it the way she always caught the fraction of a second pause before Dale's hand moved. She had been reading micro-expressions for survival since she was 22 years old. What are you not telling me? Ma'am, do not ma'am me. My son climbed down a cliff in the middle of the night. He is wearing a biker vest. I woke up in a truck with two strangers. What is happening? Brick met her eyes, held them. He could see the bruise on her wrist that her sleeve did not quite cover. The way she angled her body between him and Ethan without thinking about it. The posture of a woman who had been hit enough times to make shielding automatic. Someone tried to kill our president tonight, Brick said. Cut his brake line. Your son found him first. The people who did it know he is alive because they sent a message to his phone while Ethan was holding it. Jessie's face went white. Did they see my son? We do not know. Jessie grabbed Ethan's hand, pulled him closer. Her breathing went fast and shallow. We need to leave. We need to go right now. Go where? Brick asked, not cruel, honest. Your car does not run. Your phone does not work. You have got a fever that sounds like pneumonia, and it is 15 degrees outside. Jessie's mouth opened, closed. She looked like a woman standing at the edge of a cliff, with no good options on either side. Let us help you, Brick said. One night, that is all I am asking. One night where you do not have to run, where Ethan does not have to sleep in a car. One night where somebody else stands between your family and whatever is out there. Jessie looked at Ethan. I like Brick, Mama, Ethan said quietly. He talks like he means it. Something in Jessie cracked, not breaking, opening. The way a fist opens when the person holding it realizes they have been clenching so long their fingers have gone numb. One night, she said. One night, Brick agreed. He led them down the hallway, past the nurses, past the waiting room where men in leather sat with their heads bowed, past the double doors into the parking lot where 108 motorcycles sat under the hospital lights like a fence made of chrome and iron. Jessie stopped walking. She stared at the bikes, at the men, at the sheer impossible weight of what she was looking at. All these people, she said, they came for one man? They came for their brother, Brick said, and now they are staying for his. He looked down at Ethan. The boy looked back up at him. Captain hanging from one hand, Brick's vest trailing on the ground. In the parking lot, one of the riders, a big man with a gray beard named Reno, walked over with a blanket and a bottle of water. He handed both to Jessie without a word. She took them, hands shaking. Thank you, she whispered. Reno nodded, looked at Ethan, then back at Jessie. Your boy has more guts than anyone I have ever ridden with, he said, and I have been riding for 40 years. Jessie pulled the blanket around Ethan's shoulders, over the vest. She held him against her side, looked out at the dark highway, the direction they had come from, the direction they had been running. For the first time in 11 months, she was not moving. For the first time in 11 months, someone was standing between her and the dark. And in a hospital room upstairs, a one-eyed stuffed dog named Captain stood watch beside a man who had been meant to die tonight, placed there by a 5-year-old boy who knew what it meant when nobody came, and decided to come anyway. Brick did not sleep that night. He sat in a chair outside the motel room where Jessie and Ethan lay in a real bed for the first time in weeks, and he watched the parking lot like a man expecting war. His phone stayed in his hand. Deacon's last message burned behind his eyes every time he blinked. Someone on the inside. That meant one of his own. One of the 108 men who had ridden through the dark to save their president had also helped put him in that ditch. Brick had been Mercer's vice president for 9 years. He knew every man in the chapter by name, by history, by the scars they carried and the ones they gave. The idea that one of them had cut Ironside's brake line made his stomach turn in a way that violence never had. At 6 a.m, Deacon called. I pulled the GPS data from Ironside's bike, Deacon said. The Harley was parked at the rally grounds for 3 hours before he left. Anyone with access to the lot could have gotten under it. That is 100 people, Deacon. I know, but the text messages narrow it down. The number that sent, "We know he is alive," is a burner, purchased in Flagstaff 2 days ago. Cash. But the cell tower ping puts it within a quarter-mile of the clubhouse at the time of purchase. Brick went quiet. A quarter-mile of the clubhouse meant someone who knew where the clubhouse was, someone who had been there, someone who belonged. "There is more," Deacon said. "I ran the number against incoming calls in the clubhouse landline. It received a call from that burner 3 weeks ago. 11 minutes. Whoever this is, they have been planning." "Who answered the clubhouse phone 3 weeks ago?" "That is what I am trying to find out. Reno was on house duty that week. So was Coyote." Brick closed his eyes. Reno, the man who had handed Jesse a blanket in the parking lot. Coyote, quiet kid, 24, prospected for a year before patching in. Brick had vouched for him personally. "Keep digging," Brick said. "And Deacon, nobody hears about this except you and me. Not until we know." He hung up and stared at the motel room door. Through it, he could hear Ethan's voice, talking to Captain. A one-sided conversation about breakfast and whether stuffed dogs like pancakes. Brick stood up, knocked. "It is Brick. You folks decent?" Jessie opened the door. She looked different in daylight, still thin, still sick, but the terror from last night had settled into something harder, warmer. The look of a woman who had slept in a real bed and remembered what it felt like to have a locked door between her and the world. "How is Jack?" she asked. "Stable. Doctors say the coma is holding. They will try to bring him out today. Can we see him?" Brick looked past her at Ethan. The boy was sitting cross-legged on the bed, Captain in his lap, wearing the same thin shirt from last night because he did not have another one. "Yeah," Brick said, "but first we are getting this kid some real clothes and some real food." They drove to a diner 3 blocks from the clubhouse. Brick, Jesse, and Ethan in Brick's truck. Tank followed in his own vehicle. Not because Brick asked, because Tank had decided on his own that wherever the kid went, he went too. Ethan ordered pancakes. When the plate came, stacked high with butter and syrup, he stared at it like it might disappear. "Go ahead," Brick said. "It is yours." Ethan picked up his fork, took one bite, then another. Then his eyes filled up and he kept eating, tears running down his cheeks while he chewed, not making a sound. Jessie reached across the table and put her hand on his arm. She did not say anything. She did not need to. She knew exactly what those tears meant. They meant her boy had been hungry for so long that a plate of pancakes felt like a miracle. Brick watched them. Then he pulled out his phone and called Mama Rose. "I need clothes for a 5-year-old boy and a woman. Small sizes. Shoes too. Something warm." "I will have it ready in an hour," Mama Rose said. "Is this about Ironside?" "It is about his family." "He does not have family." "He does now." At the hospital, Mercer was awake. Not fully, not sharp, but his eyes were open and tracking when Brick walked in with Ethan and Jesse behind him. The doctors had brought him out of the coma that morning. His vitals were stable. His leg was saved. The head injury was serious but not permanent. "You look terrible," Brick said. "Feel worse," Mercer rasped. His eyes moved past Brick and found Ethan. The boy stood in the doorway wearing a new blue jacket that actually fit, new shoes that did not have holes, and a look of such concentrated worry that he seemed closer to 40 than 5. "Hey, Jack," Ethan said. Mercer's cracked lips moved. "Hey, kid, you still got Captain?" Ethan held up the stuffed dog. "He stayed with you all night. The nurse said she tried to move him, but I told her he was on duty." A sound came out of Mercer that was half laugh, half cough. Pain crossed his face. He pressed through it. "Come here." Ethan climbed into the chair beside the bed. Mercer's hand found the boy's shoulder, rested there, heavy and careful. "Your mother here?" Mercer asked. Jessie stepped forward. She had not spoken, had not moved from the doorway. Her arms were crossed tight against her chest, and she was looking at Mercer the way she looked at everything, measuring the distance between herself and danger. "Ma'am," Mercer said, "I owe you an apology." Jessie blinked. Whatever she had expected, it was not that. "Your son should not have been out on that highway alone. He should not have been anywhere near that crash. He did it because he is braver than any man I have ever known. But he did it because he did not have an adult who could do it for him. And the reason he did not have that is because no one has been taking care of you." Jessie's jaw tightened. "You do not know anything about me. I know you have been running. I know you are sick. I know someone put marks on you that you are trying to hide. And I know your boy has the eyes of a kid who has seen too much." Mercer paused, took a breath that rattled. "I also know that a woman who raises a child like Ethan, in a car, on the run, with nothing, is not a bad mother. She is a mother the world failed." Jessie's eyes filled. She fought it, lost. "Who hit you?" Mercer asked. Same voice he had used with Brick the night before. Flat, not a question, a decision being made. "My ex," Jessie said. "Ethan's father, Dale Pruitt." "Where is he?" "Last I knew, Nevada, but his brother is a sheriff's deputy here in Flagstaff. Travis Pruitt. He has been tracking us for almost a year. Every time we settle somewhere, Dale shows up. Travis feeds him our location." Mercer looked at Brick. Something passed between them that did not need words. A communication forged by a decade of riding side by side through things that would break lesser partnerships. "Deacon is already looking into Travis," Brick said. "Look harder," Mercer said. A nurse appeared in the doorway. "Mr. Mercer, you need to rest. Doctor's orders." 5 more minutes. "That is what you said 20 minutes ago." Mercer looked at Ethan. "Kid, I need to talk to Brick alone. You take care of your mama for me." Ethan nodded, serious, like he had just been given an assignment by the president himself. He took Jessie's hand and walked her out. The door closed. Mercer's face changed. The warmth drained. What was left was something colder, sharper, focused. "Tell me about the brake line." Brick sat. Cut clean, professional tool, not a hack job. Someone who knew what they were doing and knew how long you would ride before it gave. Rally was a 40-minute ride from the clubhouse. Whoever did it calculated the distance, knew the route. That means they knew your schedule. "Only officers know my schedule, Brick." The words landed like a blade between them. Officers. That meant Brick himself, Tank, Preacher, Deacon, Dutch, Reno. Coyote had been helping Reno on house duty that week, but did not have officer access. "The burner phone pinged near the clubhouse," Brick said, "and someone called the clubhouse landline from it 3 weeks ago." "Who was on house duty?" "Reno and Coyote." Mercer closed his eyes. "Reno has been with me for 18 years. "I know." "Coyote patched in last spring. You vouched for him." "I know that too." "Then figure it out. Fast. Because whoever did this is not done. They sent a message while I was bleeding. They know I am alive, and now they know about the boy. Nobody touches that kid." "Nobody touches that kid," Mercer repeated, "but somebody wants to. And until we know who, everyone is a suspect. Everyone except the people in this room." Brick stood. "I will handle it." "Brick," Mercer's voice stopped him at the door. "The boy's mother. She is running from a man with a badge in his family. That makes her our kind of problem." "Already on it." "One more thing." Mercer's eyes locked on his. "Whoever cut my line did it at the rally. That means they were there, smiling, drinking with us, watching me ride out knowing I was going to die." Brick felt the anger rise, hot and clean. "Find him," Mercer said, "and bring him to me." 2 days later, Deacon had his answer. He showed up at the clubhouse at midnight, laptop under his arm, face tight. Brick met him in the back office, closed the door, locked it. "Talk." Deacon opened the laptop. "I pulled the clubhouse phone records for the past 3 months. The burner called in 3 times. Each time, Reno was on house duty, but Reno was not the one who answered. How do you know? Because I talked to Reno, showed him the call times. He said he stepped out for cigarettes all 3 times, left the phone with whoever was in the building. Who was in the building? Deacon turned the laptop around. Security camera footage. Grainy, but clear enough. A man sitting at the bar in the clubhouse, phone pressed to his ear, talking fast, glancing at the door like he was making sure he was alone. Coyote. Brick stared at the screen. His stomach dropped. 24 years old. Quiet. Eager. Always volunteering for extra work. Always around when things were happening. Brick had liked him. Brick had trusted him. Brick had stood in front of the club and said, "This kid is solid. I will stake my patch on it." "There is more," Deacon said. I ran Coyote's real name. Marcus Webb. Through every database I could access. Webb. His mother's maiden name is Pruitt. The room went dead silent. "He is Travis Pruitt's nephew," Deacon said. "Dale Pruitt's cousin." Brick gripped the edge of the desk. His knuckles went white. Every piece snapped into place with a sickening clarity. Coyote had not prospected because he wanted to be a Hell's Angel. He had prospected because someone sent him. Travis Pruitt, a dirty sheriff's deputy who had been tracking Jesse Cole for a year and who needed eyes inside the one organization that might protect her. "He did not just cut the brake line," Brick said slowly. "He was planted. This whole time, he was a plant." It gets worse. Travis Pruitt is not just covering for his brother. I found financial records. Travis has been taking money from a man named Victor Salcedo, runs a distribution network out of Phoenix. Salcedo has been trying to push product through Flagstaff for 2 years. We have been in the way. With Ironside gone, Salcedo gets the route and Travis gets paid. So Travis sends his nephew to infiltrate us, cut Ironside's brake line, and clear the road for a drug operation. And when that fails, when a 5-year-old boy saves Ironside's life, they pivot. The text messages. They want to know if Ironside can identify who tampered with his bike. And they want to make sure the only witness besides Ironside stays quiet. Ethan, a 5-year-old kid. They are worried about a 5-year-old kid. Brick picked up his phone. "Where is Coyote right now?" "On house duty. Tonight. Alone. Not for long." 20 minutes later, Brick walked into the clubhouse. Tank and Preacher flanked him. Deacon stayed in the truck with a laptop. Insurance. Coyote was behind the bar wiping glasses. He looked up when they walked in, smiled. "Hey, Brick, thought you were at the hospital." "Was," Brick said. "Came back." "How is Ironside?" "Awake. Talking, remembers everything." Something flickered across Coyote's face. Fast, gone in a heartbeat. But Brick caught it the way a man catches a fist coming at his jaw. Instinct born from years of watching people lie. "That is great news," Coyote said. "We were all worried." "Were you?" "Of course, man, he is our president." Brick stepped closer. "Sit down, Marcus." Coyote stopped moving. The glass in his hand went still. His eyes darted to Tank, then Preacher, then back to Brick. "What did you call me?" "Sit down." The silence in the room was the kind that precedes violence, the kind where the air itself seems to hold its breath. Coyote set the glass on the bar. His hand trembled. "Brick, I do not know what—" "Marcus Webb, mother's maiden name, Pruitt. Travis Pruitt is your uncle. Dale Pruitt is your cousin. You received 3 phone calls from a burner registered in Flagstaff while you were alone in this building. And on the night of the rally, you were the last person seen near Ironside's bike before he rode out." Coyote's face went white, then red, then something past both, a color that belongs to men who realize they have been caught and are calculating how much truth to trade for how much survival. "I can explain." "I did not ask you to explain. I told you to sit down." Coyote sat. His legs gave out more than bent. He dropped onto a bar stool like the strings holding him up had been cut. Tank closed the front door, locked it. Preacher stood at the back exit. "My uncle made me do it," Coyote said, fast, panicked, the words tumbling. "He said if I did not get inside the club, he would put my mother in jail. She has got priors, Brick. Travis said he would make sure she went away for years. I did not have a choice." "You cut a man's brake line." "I did not want to. I swear to God I did not want to." "You cut it knowing he would be riding at night, on a highway, in the cold. You cut it knowing he could die." Coyote's eyes filled. "Travis said they just wanted to scare him, shake the club up, make a power move. He said Ironside would dump the bike at low speed, get banged up, and the club would be distracted long enough for Salcedo to move his product through. Ironside went off Route 66 at 60 miles an hour and landed in a ditch with a crushed leg and a head wound. A 5-year-old boy found him. A child climbed down a frozen embankment in the middle of the night and gave up his jacket to keep your president alive." Coyote started crying. I know. That boy is 5 years old, and your uncle sent a text message that threatened him. I did not know about the messages, I swear. I did my part and Travis was supposed to handle the rest. I did not know about the kid." Brick leaned in, close enough that Coyote could see every line in his face. Every year of loyalty burned into the leather and the skin beneath it. "You are going to do something for me, Marcus, and you are going to do it exactly the way I tell you. No calls to Travis, no warnings, no running. Because if you run, there is nowhere on this earth that 108 men will not find you." Coyote swallowed. "What do you want?" "You are going to testify against Travis, against Salcedo, against anyone who had a hand in this. You are going to sit in front of a judge and tell the truth about everything. The brake line, the calls, the plan, all of it. Travis will kill me. Travis will not get the chance. We are putting you in front of a lawyer tonight. By morning, the FBI will have everything Deacon found. Travis Pruitt's badge will not protect him. Not from this." "And what about me? What happens to me?" Brick stepped back, looked at Tank, looked at Preacher, looked at the patch on Coyote's vest that said Hell's Angels and meant brotherhood and loyalty and a code that this man had broken in the worst possible way. "You give up your cut," Brick said. "Tonight, right now. You hand it over and you never wear it again. You never ride with us. You never walk into a clubhouse. You are done." Coyote's hand went to his vest, fingers touching the patch like it was something alive. "And if I cooperate? Fully? Then we let the law handle you instead of handling you ourselves. That is the best deal you are ever going to get, and you have about 30 seconds to take it." Coyote looked at Tank, who stared through him, looked at Preacher, who shook his head slowly, looked at Brick, whose eyes held nothing that looked like mercy and everything that looked like a man keeping a promise. He pulled off the vest, held it out with shaking hands. Brick took it, folded it once, set it on the bar. "Deacon," Brick said into his phone, "bring the truck around. We are going to see Sandra Vega tonight." By 3 in the morning, Coyote was sitting in Sandra Vega's office, giving a statement. Every detail. The calls, the payments, Travis Pruitt's role, Victor Salcedo's money, the brake line, the timing. Sandra recorded it all on a legal dictation device and started drafting the federal complaint before the sun came up. Brick drove back to the motel, sat in the parking lot, called Mercer. "It was Coyote," Brick said, "Travis Pruitt's nephew, planted a year ago." Silence on the line. Long enough that Brick checked the screen to make sure the call had not dropped. "I vouched for him too," Mercer said finally. "That one is on both of us. He is cooperating, full testimony. Sandra is building the case now. Travis? Does not know yet. By the time he finds out, the FBI will be at his door. And Salcedo? Deacon is building the financial trail. It is deep, Jack. This is not just a Flagstaff problem. Salcedo has connections in Phoenix, Tucson, across the border. This goes higher than a brake line on a highway. Then we go higher. Clean. Legal. No guns, no blood. We do this the way that sticks. Agreed. Brick. Yeah. How is the boy? Brick looked at the motel room window. The curtains were drawn, but a thin line of light leaked through the bottom. Someone was still awake in there. Jesse, probably. Women who have been running do not sleep deep. They sleep with one ear on the door. He is okay. New clothes, full stomach, sleeping in a bed. That kid changed everything, Mercer said. You know that, right? If he had not come down that hill, I would be dead. The club would be fighting over the chair. Salcedo would have his route. Travis would have won. A 5-year-old with a stuffed dog stopped all of it. Make sure nothing stops him. The next morning, Brick told Jesse everything. Not in the motel, at the clubhouse, with Mama Rose watching Ethan in the kitchen, feeding him scrambled eggs while he told Captain about the motorcycles he had seen. Brick sat across from Jesse at the long table in the meeting room and laid it out. Coyote, Travis, Salcedo, the brake line, the text messages, the fact that Travis Pruitt had been using his badge to track Jesse for a year, and the fact that his nephew had been inside the Hells Angels for the same reason, not just to take down Mercer, but to make sure that when Dale came for Jesse, nobody would be in the way. Jesse listened without speaking. Her hands were flat on the table, perfectly still. The kind of still that comes from years of training yourself not to react because reacting made it worse. When Brick finished, she said one word. Ethan. He is safe. He is 5 years old, and people who cut brake lines know his face. Nobody is getting near him, not while I am breathing. You cannot promise that. I just did. Jesse looked at him, searched his face the way she searched every face. For the lie, for the angle, for the moment when the kindness would reveal itself as a transaction. She had been looking for that moment since Brick handed his vest to a freezing boy on the side of Route 66, and she had not found it yet. Why? She asked. Why do you care what happens to us? Brick thought about the question. He thought about the image burned into his brain, a 5-year-old in a t-shirt pressing a jacket against a dying man's chest in a frozen ditch, choosing someone else's survival over his own warmth. Because your boy did something that most men talk about but never do. He showed up when it mattered. He did not ask what the man's name was, or what his vest said, or whether he deserved saving. He just went. And that is the thing I have spent my whole life trying to build in this club. That is the thing we ride for. And a 5-year-old kid taught it to me in one night. Jesse's chin trembled. She bit down on it hard. I am tired, she whispered. I am so tired of being scared. Then stop running. Let us be the wall. In the kitchen, Ethan held up a piece of scrambled egg for Captain to smell. It is good, he told the stuffed dog. Try it. Mama Rose watched him and wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. And in a hospital room across town, Jack Mercer lay in his bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about a letter he needed to write. Not to the club, not to the FBI, not to any of the men who had ridden through the dark to save him. To a 5-year-old boy who had saved him first. His hand found the call button. A nurse appeared. I need a pen, Mercer said, and paper, the good kind if you have it. Are you writing a letter? I am writing a debt, Mercer said, the kind you pay with your whole life. Sandra Vega filed the federal complaint on a Thursday morning. By Thursday afternoon, 2 FBI agents from the Phoenix field office were sitting in her conference room reading Coyote's sworn testimony with the kind of quiet focus that meant someone important was about to have a very bad day. By Thursday evening, Travis Pruitt's name was on a federal warrant. Brick got the call from Sandra at 6 o'clock. He was in the clubhouse kitchen watching Ethan teach Mama Rose how Captain liked to be positioned at the dinner table, facing the food because Captain gets hungry too, even though he does not have a real mouth. They are moving on Travis tonight, Sandra said, but I need to warn you, The FBI wants to interview Jesse, and they want to talk to Ethan. Brick walked out of the kitchen, lowered his voice. He is 5 years old, Sandra. I know, and I told them that, but Ethan saw the message on Ironside's phone. He smelled the brake fluid at the scene. In the eyes of the federal prosecutor, your 5-year-old is the best corroborating witness they have. His mother will not agree to it. His mother does not have to, but if she cooperates voluntarily, it strengthens the case tenfold. The alternative is a subpoena, and neither of us wants that. Brick pinched the bridge of his nose. Let me talk to her. He found Jesse in the apartment they had set up above the shop. Small space, clean, bed for her, a mattress on the floor for Ethan until they could get a proper bed frame. Jesse was folding clothes that Mama Rose had brought over, donated from wives and girlfriends in the club, and she looked up when Brick knocked on the open door. FBI filed on Travis, Brick said. They are picking him up tonight. Jesse's hand stopped. She held a small t-shirt of Ethan's against her chest and stared at Brick like she was waiting for the part that would hurt. They want to talk to you and Ethan. There it was. No, Jesse said. Jesse, I said no. I am not putting my son in front of federal agents. He is 5. He has been through enough. I know that. Do you? Do you know what it is like to watch your child answer questions about things no child should have seen? I did that once already. After Dale broke my wrist, a social worker sat Ethan down and asked him to describe what Daddy did to Mama. He was 3, Brick, 3 years old, and he looked at that woman and said, Daddy makes Mama's arm go the wrong way. And then he asked if it was his fault. Her voice cracked on the last word. She turned away, pressed the t-shirt against her mouth. Brick stood in the doorway. He did not move closer. He had learned enough about Jesse in the past few days to know that closing distance when she was upset made it worse, not better. I am not going to tell you what to do, Brick said, but I am going to tell you what Sandra told me. If you cooperate voluntarily, the case against Travis is airtight. They take him down, they take down Salcedo, and they close the door on anyone who wants to come after you or Ethan. If you do not, they can still build a case, but it takes longer. And longer means Travis has more time to move, more time to find you. Jessie turned back. Her eyes were red. Is that a threat? It is the truth, and you know the difference. She did. That was the worst part. Jessie Cole had spent years living with a man who turned truth into a weapon. She knew what manipulation sounded like, what it tasted like, the way it sat in your stomach like poison dressed up as medicine. And what Brick was saying did not feel like that. It felt like a man standing in a doorway telling her the ugly facts because he respected her enough not to soften them. If they talk to Ethan, Jessie said slowly, I am in the room, every second. Agreed. And Sandra is there too. Already planned. And if anyone pushes him past what he can handle, I pull him out. I do not care if it is the President of the United States asking the questions. Jessie, if anyone pushes that kid, they will deal with me before they deal with you. She studied him, then nodded once, quick, like if she thought about it any longer, she would change her mind. The FBI arrested Travis Pruitt at his home at 9:30 that night. Deacon got the details from Sandra within the hour. Travis had answered the door in his uniform, badge still on, like he was untouchable. The agents showed him the warrant. Travis read it. His face went gray. He asked to call his lawyer. They let him. Then they put him in cuffs and walked him to the car. His wife stood in the doorway screaming. Neighbors came out. Someone filmed it on their phone. By midnight, the video was on local news. Brick watched it on the television in the clubhouse with Tank and Preacher beside him. Nobody spoke. They watched a sheriff's deputy get loaded into the back of a federal vehicle and driven away. And they thought about a brake line cut clean on a dark night and a 5-year-old boy shivering in a ditch. 1 down, Tank said. 2 to go, Brick replied. Because Travis was the badge, Salcedo was the money, But Dale Pruitt was still out there, and Dale was the fist. The interview happened 2 days later at Sandra's office. 2 FBI agents, a woman named Agent Torres and a man named Agent Rawlings, sat across from Jesse while Sandra sat beside her. Ethan was in the next room with Mama Rose, waiting. Torres went first. Professional. Thorough. She walked Jesse through everything. Dale. The abuse. The restraining order that Travis made disappear. The year of running. The car that broke down. The night on Route 66. Jesse answered every question. Her voice did not shake. Her hands did not shake. She spoke like a woman who had decided that the only way out was through, and she was going through like a freight train. When Torres asked about Travis tracking her, Jesse pulled out dates, cities, the name of the shelter worker in Albuquerque who told her a man had called, the motel in Reno where she spotted Dale's truck in the parking lot. "You have a remarkable memory," Torres said. "When someone is hunting you, you remember everything," Jesse replied. "That is how you stay alive." Then they brought Ethan in. He walked through the door holding Captain. New shoes, new jacket, hair combed. He looked at the 2 agents, then at his mother, then at Sandra. Then he climbed into the chair next to Jesse and put Captain on the table facing the agents. "Captain wants to see their badges," Ethan said. Torres looked at Rawlings. Rawlings looked at Sandra. Sandra shrugged one shoulder. Torres pulled out her badge and held it up for the stuffed dog. "Satisfied?" Torres asked. "Captain says you are okay," Ethan confirmed. Torres almost smiled. Almost. "Ethan, can you tell me about the night you found the man on the highway?" Ethan told it. Simply. Clearly. The light moving wrong. The sound of the crash. Walking through the cold. Finding Jack. The blood. The phone call to Brick. The jacket. "You gave your coat to a stranger in freezing weather," Torres said. "That was very brave." "He was colder than me." "Was he?" "Captain said so." Torres nodded. "Ethan, when you were using the man's phone, did you see anything on the screen?" "A message." "Can you tell me what it said?" "We know he is alive." Torres and Rawlings exchanged a look. "Did you recognize the number?" "No, ma'am, it was not a name, just numbers." "And before the crash, when you were in the car with your mama, did you see anything on the road? Any other vehicles?" Ethan thought about it. His face scrunched the way 5-year-old faces do when they are working hard to remember something important. "There was a truck," he said, "before the motorcycle came. A big truck. It was parked on the side of the road with its lights off. I thought that was weird because trucks always have their lights on." The room went still. "Can you tell me what kind of truck?" Torres asked. "A pickup. Dark, maybe black. It had something on the back, like a box." "A toolbox? On the bed of the truck?" "Yeah, like the ones at the gas station." Torres wrote something down. Her pen moved faster than before. "Ethan, did you see anyone near that truck?" "No, just the truck. Then the motorcycle came and then it crashed." "How long between when you saw the truck and when the motorcycle crashed?" Ethan held up both hands, spread his fingers. "Maybe this many minutes." 10 minutes? "I think so." Sandra leaned forward. "Agent Torres, where are you going with this?" Torres tapped her pen against the notepad. "We have surveillance footage from the rally grounds showing a black pickup truck with an aftermarket toolbox leaving the parking lot 40 minutes before Ironside's crash. The truck is registered to Victor Salcido's construction company." "Someone was waiting on the highway," Rawlings said, "making sure the crash happened, making sure it worked." "And when it did not work," Torres continued, "they sent the message." Jessie grabbed Ethan's hand under the table, squeezed. Her face had gone pale. "That truck was parked 100 yards from our car," Jessie said. "My son was in that car. If they had looked, if they had walked over—" "They did not," Sandra said firmly. "He is here. He is safe." But the words sat in the room like smoke. The distance between Ethan and the people who wanted Ironside dead had been 100 yards. A football field. A parking lot. Nothing. Torres closed her notepad. Mrs. Cole, Ethan, thank you. This testimony is extremely valuable. We will need you available for a grand jury if this goes to trial. Grand jury, Jesse looked at Sandra. We will prepare for that if it comes, Sandra said. For now, you have done your part. They left Sandra's office. Brick was waiting in the truck outside. He took one look at Jesse's face and knew. Bad? They were parked next to us, Jesse said. The truck, the people who cut Jack's brake line, they were right there, while Ethan was in the car. Brick's hands tightened on the steering wheel. They did not see him. This time. They drove in silence. Ethan sat in the back seat, Captain on his lap, humming a song he had learned from Mama Rose that morning. A kid's song about sunshine and animals. The sound of it filled the truck like something too pure for the conversation happening in the front seats. Brick, Jesse said quietly, Dale is going to come. I know. Travis getting arrested will not stop him. It will make him worse. When Dale feels cornered, he does not retreat. He charges. He broke my wrist because I told him I wanted to visit my mother for Christmas. He cracked my ribs because I put salt on his eggs without asking. The man does not need a reason, and now he has one. He will not get near you. You keep saying that, and I will keep saying it until you believe it. I want to believe it, I do, but you did not live with him. You did not see his face when he decided something was going to happen. He gets this look, this dead, flat look, like the person behind his eyes leaves and something else takes over. And when that look comes, nothing stops him. Not locks, not distance, not other people. Brick pulled the truck over, turned to face her. Jesse, I am going to tell you something and I need you to hear it. Not the words, the thing behind the words. She looked at him, waiting. I have been in this club for 31 years. I have buried friends. I have sat in jail cells. I have been shot at, stabbed, left for dead on a road that is not that different from the one where your boy found Ironside. I am still here, not because I am lucky, because I do not quit. And I do not quit on the people I decide to protect. Why us? Because your son climbed down a frozen hill for a stranger. And in 31 years, that is the single bravest thing I have ever seen. If a 5-year-old can do that, I can damn sure stand between him and one man with a temper. Jessie's eyes filled. She turned away, looked out the window. I am not used to people keeping their promises. Get used to it. Dale Pruitt arrived in Flagstaff 4 days later. Deacon tracked him through a network of gas station security cameras and highway toll readers that the FBI had flagged as part of Travis's case. Dale drove straight from Henderson, Nevada to Flagstaff, Arizona in 7 hours. No stops except fuel. No calls to anyone except one, to a number that Deacon traced to a motel on the south side of Flagstaff. He is here, Deacon told Brick. Checked into the Desert Sun Motel under a fake name, room 14. How did he find us? He did not find us. He found the hospital. The news footage of Travis getting arrested showed the hospital in the background. Dale is not smart, but he is focused. He knows Jesse was connected to the Hells Angels because of his cousin Coyote. He knows Ironside is at the hospital. He is going to start there and work outward. How long before he connects the clubhouse? If he asks the right person, hours. Brick called an emergency meeting. 30 men filled the clubhouse in 20 minutes. Brick stood at the front. No preamble, no speeches. Dale Pruitt is in Flagstaff. He is here for Jesse and Ethan. This is the man who broke their bones, chased them across 3 states, and used a dirty cop brother to track them like animals. He is in a motel right now, and he will be at our door by morning. The room was silent, not the silence of fear, the silence of men deciding together. We do not touch him, Brick said. I know what you are thinking. I am thinking it too. But Sandra and the FBI are building a federal case. If one of us lays a finger on Dale Pruitt, we hand Travis's lawyer a gift. So we do this the other way. What other way? Tank asked. We document everything. We put eyes on him. We make sure that when he makes his move, and he will make a move, we have it on camera, on record, and in front of witnesses. Sandra is getting a protective order filed tomorrow morning. The second he violates it, he goes to jail. Federal jail. Same facility as his brother. And if he moves before the order is filed? Preacher asked. Then we stand between him and that apartment, and we do not move. At 2 a.m, Jessie woke up. She did not know why at first. The apartment was dark. Ethan was asleep on his mattress, Captain tucked under his chin. Everything was quiet. Then she heard it. A car engine, idling, close, too close. She went to the window, pulled the curtain back an inch. A pickup truck sat in the alley behind the shop. Dark, engine running, headlights off. She could not see the driver, but she did not need to. She knew the shape of that truck the way she knew the shape of her own fear. She had seen it in every rearview mirror for a year. Dale. Her hands shook. Her breath went fast and thin. Every nerve in her body screamed the same word it had screamed for 11 months. Run. She grabbed her phone, dialed Brick. He answered on the first ring. He is here, Jessie whispered. Behind the shop, in his truck. I see him. We see him. Do not move. Do not open the door. Do not turn on any lights. Brick. Jessie, look out your window. Look at the parking lot. She moved to the front window, looked down. Motorcycles, 6 of them, lined up across the front of the shop like a barricade. And beside them, 6 men in cuts, standing in the cold, arms folded, faces turned toward the alley where Dale's truck idled. He is not getting in, Brick said. Go back to bed. I cannot sleep. Then stay on the phone with me. I am right here. Jessie pressed her back against the wall, slid down to the floor, held the phone against her ear and listened to Brick breathe. Steady. Calm. The breathing of a man who had decided nothing bad was going to happen and had the will to enforce it. In the alley, Dale sat in his truck for 47 minutes. He did not get out. He did not honk. He did not call. He just sat there, engine running, staring at the building where his ex-wife and son slept. Then he saw the bikes. One by one, the riders turned on their headlights. 6 beams of light cutting down the alley, flooding Dale's windshield with white. He shielded his eyes. Through the glare, he could see them. The vests, the patches, the faces that did not look away. Brick stepped forward into the light. He did not speak. He just stood there, arms at his sides, staring at the truck. 6 feet 4 inches of everything Dale Pruitt had never been prepared for. Dale's truck lurched into reverse, tires squealing. He backed out of the alley, swung onto the street, and drove. Brick watched him go. Then he raised his phone. He is gone. On the other end, Jessie exhaled, a long, slow breath that sounded like it had been trapped inside her body for a year. He will come back, she said, and we will be here. In the apartment, Ethan rolled over in his sleep. Captain fell off the mattress. The stuffed dog lay on the floor, one eye staring at the ceiling, standing guard even in the dark. And somewhere across Flagstaff, Dale Pruitt gripped his steering wheel until his knuckles went white and felt something he had not felt in years. The unfamiliar, corrosive sting of being the one who was afraid. Sandra filed the protective order at 8 the next morning. By noon, a judge had signed it. By 1 o'clock, Flagstaff PD had served it at Dale's motel room. Dale was not there. The room was empty, bed not slept in, truck gone, but his phone pinged off a tower 2 miles from the clubhouse. He was circling, watching, waiting for a gap. Brick doubled the watch. 4 men at the shop at all times, 2 at the clubhouse. Deacon ran the phone tracker constantly, updating Dale's position every 30 minutes. For 3 days, Dale drove circles around Flagstaff like a shark around a bleeding swimmer. He never stopped long enough to be picked up on a violation. Never came within the distance the protective order specified. He was careful, controlled, playing a game he had played before with women who had run before. A game of patience and pressure designed to make the prey break before the predator had to move. On the fourth day, Jessie almost broke. Brick found her in the apartment kitchen at midnight, packing a bag. Ethan's clothes, her clothes, Captain on top. "What are you doing?" Brick asked. "Leaving. If I am not here, he has no reason to stay. He will follow me, not you. Not Ethan if Ethan is not with me. You are not leaving your son. I am protecting him. By abandoning him?" The word hit Jessie like a slap. She stopped packing. Her hands went still on the bag. "That is not fair," she whispered. "No, it is not, but it is the truth. Ethan has been left by one parent already. His father left through violence. If you leave through fear, the result is the same, a boy alone. I am not Dale. I know you are not. That is why you are going to stay. Because staying is harder. Staying means trusting people you have known for a week over the fear you have carried for years. But Jessie, your boy trusts us. He trusted Ironside in that ditch. He trusted me on that motorcycle. He trusts Mama Rose with his breakfast. He even trusts Captain, and that dog has one eye and no pulse. Your son is braver than both of us. The least you can do is be brave enough to stay." Jessie stared at the bag, then at Brick, then at the hallway where Ethan's mattress sat in a small room with a door that locked and a window that looked out over a parking lot full of motorcycles. She unpacked the bag, piece by piece, folded everything and put it back in the drawers. "If he gets to Ethan," she said, "if anything happens to my son, it will not. But if it does, then every man in this club will answer for it, starting with me." Jessie nodded, sat down at the kitchen table, put her head in her hands. Brick sat across from her. Neither of them spoke. The clock on the wall ticked past midnight, past 1, past 2. At some point, Jessie's breathing evened out. She had fallen asleep at the table, head on her arms, exhaustion finally winning the war against fear. Brick stood, found a blanket, draped it over her shoulders. Then he walked outside, sat on the steps, and called Mercer. "Dale is escalating," Brick said. "He is going to make a move soon. I can feel it." "Then let him," Mercer said, "and make sure the whole world is watching when he does." Dale made his move on a Sunday. He waited until the morning shift change, when 4 riders left and 2 replacements had not yet arrived. A 12-minute gap. He had been counting. 4 days of circling, watching, timing the rotations like a predator studying the breathing pattern of its prey. He parked his truck 3 blocks away, walked, came through the back alley on foot, found the fire escape on the side of the building, and climbed. Jessie heard the footsteps on the metal stairs before she heard anything else. A specific rhythm she knew in her bones. Heavy, deliberate. The walk of a man who believed the world owed him whatever he decided to take. She grabbed Ethan, pulled him off the mattress. The boy woke instantly, eyes wide. Captain clutched to his chest. "Mama?" "Quiet, baby. Stay behind me." The door handle rattled. Then a shoulder hit it, hard. The lock held. Another hit. The frame cracked. Jessie's phone was already in her hand. She hit Brick's number. It rang once. "He is at the door," Jessie said. 60 seconds, Brick said. 60 seconds, Jessie. Hold that door." Dale hit it again. The frame splintered. One more, and he would be through. "Jessie!" Dale's voice came through the wood. That voice, the one she heard in nightmares, the one that had explained to her, calmly, patiently, while her wrist swelled purple, that she had made him do it. "Open the door. I just want to see my son." Ethan pressed against Jessie's back. His small hands gripped her shirt. He was shaking, but he was not crying. He had learned before he could read that crying made it worse. "Go away, Dale," Jessie said. Her voice did not shake. For the first time in years, her voice did not shake. He is my son. He is my son, and you are not touching him. Dale hit the door again. The lock gave. The door swung open and Dale Pruitt filled the frame. 6'1", broad shoulders, the flat, dead eyes that Jesse had described to Brick. The look of a man who had already decided what was going to happen. "Hey, buddy," Dale said, looking past Jesse at Ethan, smiling. The smile that came before the worst parts. "Daddy has been looking for you." Ethan did not move, did not speak. He held Captain against his chest and stared at the man who had thrown his stuffed dog in the garbage and broken his mother's bones, and made every night of his short life a lesson in how to be invisible. Then Ethan stepped out from behind Jesse. "You need to leave," Ethan said. Dale blinked. The smile flickered. "What did you say?" "You need to leave. You are not allowed to be here. There is a paper that says so." "A paper?" Dale laughed. "Short. Ugly. Who told you about that? These biker friends of yours? You think a piece of paper is going to stop me from taking my own son?" "You are not taking him," Jesse said. Dale's eyes snapped to her. The smile disappeared. What replaced it was something Jesse had seen 100 times. The switch. The moment the mask dropped and the real Dale surfaced. He took a step forward. Jesse stepped back. Her hip hit the kitchen counter. "You have caused me a lot of trouble," Dale said. "My brother is in federal jail. My cousin lost his vest. I have been driving for 7 hours and sleeping in a parking lot for 4 days. All because you could not keep your mouth shut. Your brother is in jail because he is a criminal. Your cousin cut a man's brake line. That is not my fault." Dale grabbed her arm. Jesse gasped. His fingers dug in hard enough to leave marks that would last a week. "Mama!" Ethan screamed. The sound of that scream carried through the broken door, down the fire escape, into the alley where the first motorcycle was already turning the corner. Brick. 60 seconds. He had made it in 45. But someone else got there first. The sound of a cane on the stairs. Slow, steady, each step deliberate. Then a voice that filled the doorway with the kind of authority that badges and fists could not match. "Take your hands off her." Dale turned. Jack Mercer stood in the broken doorframe. Thinner than before, leaning on a cane, his legs still wrapped beneath his jeans, his face pale from weeks of recovery. But his eyes, those gray-blue eyes that Ethan had seen in the ditch on Route 66, were burning. "Who the hell are you?" Dale said. "I am the man your cousin tried to kill, and that boy saved my life." Mercer nodded at Ethan. "So I am going to say it one more time. Take your hands off his mother." Dale let go of Jesse's arm, not because he was afraid, because his brain was recalculating. A crippled man with a cane was not a threat. Dale had handled bigger. "This is a family matter," Dale said. "Walk away." "That is what I used to do," Mercer said. "Walk away. Let other people fight their own battles." Then a 5-year-old boy with a stuffed dog climbed down a frozen ditch to save a stranger. And I realized that walking away is just a nicer word for cowardice. Dale stepped toward Mercer. "Old man, I will put you back in that ditch." "Maybe, but you will do it on camera." Dale froze. Mercer pointed his cane past Dale's shoulder. Ethan's small hand was raised, holding Mercer's phone. The camera was recording. The red light blinked steady and clear. "My friend Brick taught me how to use the camera," Ethan said. "He said if the bad man ever came, I should push the red button." Dale stared at his 5-year-old son holding a phone like a weapon. For a moment, something crossed his face that might have been shock, or recognition, or the terrible understanding that the boy he had terrorized was no longer afraid of him. "You are going to film me?" Dale said. "You are my son." "I am Mama's son," Ethan said, "and you hurt her." Boots on the stairs. Brick came through the door. Tank behind him. Preacher behind Tank. 3 men who did not need to speak because their presence said everything. Dale looked at Mercer, at Brick, at Tank, at Preacher, at Jesse pressed against the counter, at Ethan holding a phone with a steady hand. He was outnumbered. outflanked, recorded, and for the first time in his life, facing people who would not back down when he raised his voice. "This is not over," Dale said. "Yeah, it is," Brick replied. "Flagstaff PD is 2 minutes out. You broke a protective order, forced entry, and assaulted a woman in front of her child and 5 witnesses. You are done." Dale's jaw clenched, his fists balled. For one terrible second, Jesse thought he would charge. She could see it building, the pressure behind his eyes, the tension in his shoulders, the coiled violence that had defined every relationship he had ever had. Then Ethan lowered the phone, looked at his father, and said the words that cracked Dale Pruitt open like a hammer on glass. "I am not scared of you anymore." 5 words, from a boy who weighed 50 pounds. And Dale Pruitt, the man who had broken bones and chased his family across 3 states, took a step backward, then another. Then he turned and walked down the fire escape, and Jesse Cole heard his footsteps fade for the last time. Police picked him up in the alley, cuffed him against his own truck. The video Ethan recorded became evidence. Sandra Vega had it in the federal prosecutor's hands by noon. Dale Pruitt was charged with felony violation of a protective order, breaking and entering, and assault. He was denied bail, transported to the same federal facility where his brother Travis sat waiting for trial. The Pruitt brothers, together at last, in a place they could not leave. The judge at Dale's arraignment watched Ethan's video, watched a 5-year-old boy hold a phone steady while his father threatened his mother and a man on a cane. When the video ended, she looked at the prosecutor. "Bond denied," she said. "This man is a danger to his family and his community." Mercer was discharged from physical therapy 6 weeks later. He walked into the clubhouse under his own power. No cane, slow but steady. 108 men stood when he entered. Nobody clapped, nobody cheered. They just stood, the way soldiers stand when the flag passes. Respect held in silence. Mercer walked to the head of the long table, looked at his brothers. Then he looked at the corner of the room where Ethan sat on a stool beside Mama Rose, eating a cookie, Captain on the counter beside him. "I am only going to say this once," Mercer said, "so listen." The room went quiet. 6 weeks ago, I was dying in a ditch. My brake line was cut. My leg was crushed. I was bleeding out in the cold, and the last thing I expected was for someone to come. I had given up. The great Ironside, the president of this chapter, I had given up. He paused, let it sit. And then a 5-year-old boy with holes in his shoes climbed down a frozen hill, held my hand, and told me I could not go to sleep. He gave me his jacket, his only jacket, in freezing temperatures. A child who had nothing gave away the last thing he had to keep a stranger alive. Mercer's voice broke. He caught it, pushed through. That boy and his mother are family now. Not guests, not charity cases. Family, the kind you choose, the kind you fight for. I am asking this club to vote on permanent support status for Jesse and Ethan Cole. Full protection, full support, as long as they need it. "All in favor," Brick said. Every hand in the room went up. 108. "Opposed." Silence. "It is done," Mercer said. He looked at Ethan. "Come here, kid." Ethan jumped off the stool, walked across the room past all those men in leather, Captain under one arm, cookie crumbs on his chin. He stopped in front of Mercer and looked up. Mercer reached into his cut, pulled out a small leather vest, kid-sized, patches already sewn on, Hells Angels, Arizona, and below that a support patch that read, Cole Family. "This is yours," Mercer said, "if you want it." Ethan took the vest, held it up, looked at it with the same serious eyes that had stared down his father an hour earlier. "Does Captain get one too?" The room erupted, laughter that rolled through 108 men like thunder, the kind that comes after weeks of tension and fear and standing watch in parking lots. Mercer laughed until his ribs ached. "Yeah, kid, Captain gets one too." Mama Rose had already made one. a tiny vest, barely bigger than a napkin, stitched with a single patch that read K9 Unit. She slipped it over Captain's worn body. The one-eyed dog sat on the table in his new leather, looking like the smallest, bravest member the Hells Angels had ever recruited. 3 months later, Jessie graduated from her first semester at the community college. Straight A's, accounting. She walked across the small stage and found Ethan in the audience, standing on his chair, waving Captain above his head. Brick sat beside him, clapping with hands big enough to make it sound like a standing ovation on its own. Ethan started first grade, made friends, read above his level. His teacher told Jessie he was the kindest boy in the class, always the first to help when someone was struggling. He gets that from himself, Jessie told Brick, and this time she almost believed it. Mercer wrote again. The limp stayed on cold days. The scar ran from his hip to his knee, but he was on his bike, leading 108 men through Arizona highways, with Captain sitting on a shelf in his office, and a letter he had written in a hospital bed framed on the wall beside it. The letter said one thing, 3 sentences, written to a boy who could not read them yet, but would someday. Ethan, you taught me that courage is not about size. It is about showing up when the world gives you every reason to walk away. I will spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of what you did for me in that ditch. Your friend, Jack. On a warm evening in April, Jessie and Ethan sat on the steps outside their apartment. Ethan wore his vest over his school shirt. Captain wore his. The parking lot was full of bikes, and somewhere inside the clubhouse, men told stories and played cards and watched over a world that most people never saw. Mama? Ethan said. Yeah, baby. Are we home? Jessie put her arm around him, pulled him close, felt his heartbeat against her side, steady and strong, the heartbeat of a boy who had climbed down a frozen hill with nothing and come back up with everything. Yeah, she said, we are home. And down the street, 108 motorcycles sat in the Arizona dusk, chrome catching the last of the light, ready to ride if anyone ever tried to take that home away. Because a 5-year-old boy with a one-eyed stuffed dog had taught 108 men the only lesson that ever mattered, that showing up is everything, that the smallest hands carry the heaviest weight, and that the people the world throws away are always the ones worth fighting for.